Hi everyone, welcome to the Whiteleyverse with me, Connor Whiteley, for another daily short story. Now, before I start today's story, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to buy this short story and any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers and at your local bookstore and local library if you requested, and you can order paperback copies from Amazon. Now, here's today's short story. I hope you enjoyed just as much as I did writing it.
Power in Grief. The 19th of September 2022. London, England. I always like to admit that I've lived through a lot as a person. I was alive and living and fighting in the First and Second World Wars, and I'm still alive to this very day, but there are events in time and space that do actually leave me feeling very shaken and confused and rather upset as a person. And the death of the Queen of the UK was surprisingly enough one of those times. Sure, I'm British, so I do like the monarchy, and they actually do a lot of amazing work for charities, the British people and the poorest in our society, but only in death did I realize just how much she meant to me. You see, my name is Matilda Plum, a superhero in the psychology, counseling and therapy sector of the world, so it's basically my job to travel round making sure people's mental health is okay and helping people solve problems. And thankfully all the myths about psychologists are my powers, which I really have a feeling might be a great benefit on a day like today. Surprisingly enough, and I seriously don't know why this didn't dawn on me sooner, but with it being the Queen's funeral today, traveling around London was an absolute nightmare. So instead of traveling around London with my superhero friends, checking up on people and making sure everyone was okay, I was instead standing on a very busy street corner with the rough, polished cobblestone of the pavement under my feet, surrounded by tons of different people. I actually didn't mind the sheer amount of people around me, for a change. Their conversations about what the Queen meant to them, how amazing the Queen had been, and how excited they were about the new king was all rather interesting. And it was so nice to sense the sheer excitement and joy, with a slight undertone of sadness coming from them. When I had been travelling up to London from my home city of Canterbury, I had been concerned about finding everyone depressed, crying, and my superhero powers would be stretched to their limits. Thankfully that wasn't the case though, and I was very glad about that. All the people around me were from all different corners of the UK with their great different accents. They were definitely from all different classes judging by their fashion choices, but all of them were happy and united in their reason for being here. To pay respect to a great woman. But even I have to admit something here, I was flat out not impressed in the slightest that I had actually had to get up at 3 a.m. in the morning to travel here, so I could search these damn areas and all of London, before viewing the Queen's coffin ended at 6:30 a.m. I mean, that is a stupid time to get back, and when the next monarch dies I am so picking a different shift, and instead one of my superhero best friends Jack or Daniel or even James could do this shift instead. I am not doing this sort of shift ever again, mark my words. The sound of church bells ringing in the distance, and the even more distant sound of people talking and crying, made me weakly smile in the direction of Westminster Abbey. An immense grey stone cathedral, or technically a monastery, in the heart of Westminster, London, with its ancient architecture, small garden filled with rich thick green grass all around it, and an immense wooden door in the shape of an arch in my line of sight. I was amazed at the thousands of people lined up, perfectly calm and upset outside the Abbey's wooden door, as they waited to get into the Abbey to see the wooden coffin of the Queen before the Abbey was closed at 6:30 a.m, so everyone could start preparing for the state funeral. Personally, I have never been too bothered with the idea of lying in rest and going to see a famous person's coffin. And because you didn't actually get to see them, you were only seeing a coffin. And I'm sorry, but if I wanted to go and see a coffin, I would go and see the superheroes in the death, funerals and crematorium sector. Yet the more I focused on the thousands of people lining up to go inside, the more I felt something weird going on inside of the line. It wasn't exactly a sense of danger or something, but only now that the air had changed slightly from a cool, crisp morning to a damp, cold breeze with my breath forming thick columns of vapor in the air. But with the sun shining, and the temperature being very warm, I rolled my eyes as I just knew that something bad was going on. And if something bad was going on, then it was something that I had to sort out, because if something bad did happen, then there were far too many innocent people nearby, and they would all get caught in the crossfire of whatever was going on. I was about to take a few steps forward and glide through the crowd of people around me, but the problem was I was standing on a street corner that had grey metal railings around it to stop trespassers charging towards the Abbey, instead of waiting in line. That normally wouldn't have mattered to me, to be honest. I had jumped a lot of railings in my day, but given how many armed police officers there were, I was all of a sudden a lot less willing to try it. Thankfully, being a superhero psychologist does have its advantages, and come to think of it, I actually don't know of any disadvantages in the slightest. I carefully glided through the crowd, smiling and sending people warming, comforting and calming thoughts as they moved out of the way for me. Then I got to the very front of the crowd, and placed my hands carefully on the icy cold grey metal railing in front of me, and smiled at a very cute female and male police officer. As one of my superpowers is mind reading, when I hear someone talk, and the two cute cops were talking to each other, I instantly knew they weren't together. They were very good friends, and amazingly enough they were superheroes in the security, policing and crime sector. "Matilda," the cute man said. Now I really have to admit that I was surprised as hell that the very cute man wearing his sexy tight black police uniform, smooth skin and perfectly round face actually knew who I was. I don't think I have ever dealt with their sector before, so I have absolutely no clue how they know me. Yet I really didn't like the look of the very cute man and woman, with their automatic rifles. I just don't like guns or any weapons. "You know me?" I asked. Both the cute man and woman just smiled and looked at each other. "You're famous, Matty," the woman shouted. "We first heard about you years ago, and we've followed your work ever since. It is an honor to meet you." I had no clue I had a fan base in the superhero world. Sure, I know I got up to some cool things from time to time and even defeated a rogue god before, but a fan base, that was a new one. The temperature dropped even more, my skin chilled and my breath became like fog. But the weirdest thing was that I was the only one. Not a single other person's or superhero's breath was like mine. "You see my breath, right?" I asked. Both the cop superheroes nodded. "I'm Danny," the cute woman said with her long sexy blonde hair, tight-fitting uniform, and somehow she managed to radiate sexual confidence and attraction towards me. I really liked both of them. "I'm sensing something weird coming from the lines of mourners going into the Abbey," I said. "I need to get in there, please." "Go on, Frankie," Danny said. The cute man nodded, and swirled his hand in the air for a moment, and a large wave of energy washed over me. A moment later, I found myself wearing a black police uniform on the other side of the grey metal railings, sort of like I had always been there. I could do the same thing with teleportation, but I couldn't change people's clothes or make people believe I had always been a cop. That took some serious power. "Thank you," I said as I went towards the Abbey. It felt so weird having people wave and smile at me from the crowds as I went towards the Abbey. The closer I got to the imposing grey stone Abbey, the more sad and weird I felt. It was almost like the Abbey itself was trying to make me sad. In a way, I suppose that's normal because the Queen's dead, so it's normal for me to feel some kind of collective grief for the country. But it wasn't like that. I could have sworn the Abbey itself was trying to make me sad. I bowed my head slightly towards the lines upon lines of mourners as they waited to enter the Abbey, and that's when I simply stopped. I had wanted to just go straight into the Abbey, but as I stood in the middle of a large patch of rich thick grass, looking at the lines upon lines of mourners, I realized I had everything I needed right here. And I could just feel the sheer sense of danger, panic and sadness very close to me. I would have expected the sense to be coming from the direction of the Abbey or the mourners, but it was actually coming from behind me. I slowly turned around and didn't see anything. But thankfully, as a psychologist, I know that things aren't always as they seem, and the causes of mental difficulties aren't always obvious, so I had a feeling I needed to apply the same logic here. I closed my eyes and focused all my sensing and perception superpowers on the empty space ahead of me. I just knew that there was more than I was seeing. And I was right. When I opened my eyes again, I saw a massive black shadowy figure that wasn't more than a simple slash in the air. I only knew it was a figure because it was what I could sense. Who? Something said around me. I simply smiled, as even a single word was everything I needed for my psychology superpowers to kick in. I instantly started to read the creature's mind, and it certainly wasn't human. The creature wasn't even of this reality, but it knew of me, superheroes and the gods and goddesses that ran everything. It felt almost happy, delighted to see me because of who I was, not because it could continue to feed on my grief. That sheer realization was outrageous to me. It was disgusting that this creature, whatever it was using the grief of these poor people to feed itself, and probably pull it into this reality. I had to stop it. "I see you, creature," I said quietly. "Then you know what I want and what you will allow me to do," it said. But I didn't know what it wanted. Normally I can sense that out in a living being very quickly, but any thoughts, feelings or emotion about desires or motivations was simply dead. It was like this creature didn't have any wants. Something that in all my years as a psychologist knows is flat out impossible. We all want everything out of life, even if it's something as boring as a job, a partner and maybe kids. "You don't know," it said with a hint of humor. That hint was something else that was strange. It didn't feel right. The shadowy slash in the air jumped forward. I stumbled back. All I could do was stare at the impressive black shadowy woman standing in front of me. I couldn't make out any facial or other features except that it was a woman. The woman's laugh sounded like logs crackling on a fire. "You have done well to bring me here, my love," the woman said. I had no clue what she was going on about. "Who?" The woman looked at me. A headache instantly engulfed my head like my brain was on fire. I collapsed to the ground, kneeling. Then I realized that no sound was around me. No one was moving. No one was doing anything. This woman had frozen time in a way. I could do that, but not this quickly and subtly. The woman might not have had a face, but I could seriously tell she was grinning at me. "My love," the woman looking at the abbey. "You can show yourself now. I have found us an unwilling host to make us one once again." My eyes widened. I didn't want to be some host or sacrifice to these beings. They were right about me being unwilling. If I was a superhero from another sector, I might have been able to blast these people away or stun them, or just do something to stop them. But I couldn't. A white-black shadowy figure in the shape of a man appeared next to me. He touched me and his touch burned me. I hissed, and I had seriously had enough now. I was a superhero of the psychology sector. I was a master of people's mind and behaviors, and that damn well gave me power. I stretched out my arms and just stared at the shadowy woman in front of me. I forced my powers to course through her very strange mind. She was flat out strange and definitely not from this reality, but she was alive and she had a mind. That meant she was my prey, and I was in full control. I felt her resist me, tried to put up mental barriers to stop me, but I tore them down. I was getting close to something. The man grabbed me with both hands. Burning, searing pain shot through me, but I was in control of his lover, and I could barely sense that he knew that. He wasn't going to hurt me. I coursed my powers through to the core of her mind, and I was shocked. She was exactly of this reality. She wanted to kill the mourners. She wanted to consume their souls and their life forces, and most importantly their grief. They wanted the grief to resurrect a long-dead goddess. The man smashed me over the head. My superpowers disconnected. Time restarted. I collapsed to the ground. The shadowy man and woman shot out their hands. Black swirls of energy launched themselves at the mourners. They screamed. They tried to run. They collapsed to the ground. I felt their pain. I felt their annoyance. I felt them dying. I couldn't do anything. Bullets screamed through the air. The woman flicked their wrist. Danny and Frankie flew towards us. I stared at the woman, forcing herself not to hurt them. I burrowed into her mind, influencing her not to burn them. She resisted. I felt her mind wanting to kill them. She was fighting me. No. I shouted into her mind. The woman hissed. I slammed my suggestion into her mind. She screamed, but her black swirls of energy didn't stop. More mourners screamed. I had to save them. Banish him. I shouted into the woman's mind. She didn't want to. I kept slamming my influence into her. My eyes started to bleed. My nose poured with blood. I had to control her a little longer. I couldn't let people die. The woman screamed at the man. The man collapsed to the ground, covering his ears. The black swirl stopped, returning to him. A massive golden blast of energy smashed into the man and woman. The shockwave knocked me to the ground. My vision blurred. I disconnected from the woman's mind. When I regained my vision, I was amazed to see a very tall, beautiful woman with golden glowing hair, and wearing a stunning golden dress, standing right next to Danny and Frankie. My boss Natalia, goddess of my sector, had come to finish off the figures. And my stomach just twisted into a painful knot, as I wondered why the hell was my boss, one of the most powerful goddesses in all of creation, here. That question just terrified me. About an hour later, Natalia had brought me, Danny and Frankie into Westminster Abbey itself, stopping time of course, and we all simply stood in silence in front of the wooden coffin of the Queen. I was rather amazed by the sheer scale of the immense abbey, with its solid cold grey floor made from polished granite, its smooth marble walls and its dark brown oak ceiling with little arches of support on top. I suppose in a way time didn't actually need to be stopped, because there was no one else in the chamber, as everyone was preparing to move the coffin for the funeral, but the deadly silence was fitting, and I doubted Natalia wanted what she was about to say to be overheard by mere humans. Not that it would be a problem, as me and Natalia could, and would easily erase it from their minds. Natalia turned away from the coffin after a few moments and smiled at all of us. I have to admit she might be my boss, but she was beautiful and very, very hot. And she was only a few meters away from me, but I swear she made the air smell wonderful of jasmine, ginger and sweet honey. She was amazing. You three are heroes to us all, Natalia said cheerfully. I shrugged. What were those things? I know they were made by people on this dimension, but what were they doing? Natalia frowned, and Danny and Frankie folded their arms, and I instantly knew that it was slightly strange for the god and goddess of the security, policing and crime sector to send their superheroes to a state funeral. There was a reason they were here. We've known for a while of roguish elements within our superheroes, Danny said. And we know there is a cult spreading through the superhero world in dedication of bringing back the very first goddess, but that is something we cannot allow to happen. I could only nod. I had heard that the policing sector did have the most superheroes out of all the thousands of sectors in the world, and they were also the most well-informed, but this was brand new news to me. Actually, I suppose in a way I had met rogues before because I did defeat the rogue god, but I had no clue there was a cult dedicated to all of this rogueness. What happened to the first goddess? I asked. Natalia smiled weakly at me. She almost burnt all of creation to the ground. She killed so many superheroes and gods and goddesses that she almost wiped us out. All I could do was stare with shock. The problem is she was so powerful we couldn't kill her, Natalia said. We could only put her to sleep in a hidden cave on Earth. So these shadowy creatures, I said, wanted to use the magic and power contained in the mourner's grief to restore her. Natalia nodded. Thank you all. I must leave you all now and return to the other gods and goddesses. There is much work that needs to be done. Danny and Frankie, thanks. Matilda, always a pleasure. Then the sound of people talking, crying and shouting orders slammed back into me, as Natalia disappeared, teleported off, and time restarted. I seriously doubt I would ever get used to that. Matty, Danny said, standing very close to me. Are you free for the rest of the day? I shrugged, without really looking at her or Danny. I was just more shocked about the realization of a cult and a first goddess more than anything else. I plan to watch the funeral, but I'm free tonight. Then I realized on the other side of me, Frankie was also standing very close to me, and it clicked what they were after. You know, Danny said, giving me a very seductive smile. Me and Frankie always like having a little fun after a mission, and I have to say you are very hot. Agreed, Frankie said like a little schoolboy. I smiled at both of them, and they were both really cute, sexy and hot. And it wasn't like I could actually do anything about the cult today, because they were definitely tomorrow's problem. Today I just needed a little fun with two very hot superheroes, and we might be done all before the Queen reaches her final resting place in 10 hours' time. Superheroes were great at sex like that. I clicked my fingers, and the entire world fell away from us as I teleported us back to my bedroom for a reward after a very good day's work, because we definitely deserved some fun after saving a lot of lives, stopping a goddess from returning, and meeting two great new friends as well. This was exactly what I needed, and I fully intended to love every single moment of it.
Welcome back everyone, it's me again, Connor Whiteley. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's story, because I flat out love writing, creating stories and sharing them with you. If you really enjoyed today's story, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the internet engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to buy this short story or any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers, and you can get them from your local library if you requested, and you can order the paperback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore or local library if you request it. Lastly, if you want to support the channel on a one-off basis, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy today's story, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help spread the word about the channel. So, thanks for watching the Whiteleyverse, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.